When we're not building cars for YouTube, we're on YouTube watching other people build cars for YouTube. And let me tell you, a lot of these tubers are completely out of hand.
Today, we're looking at some of the most insane YouTuber builds, and we're going to rank them by exactly how much horsepower they make. I'm Justin, this is James.
Welcome to Donuts. All right, first car on the list belongs to Polish YouTubers Nightride. And let me tell you, we are so jealous that we didn't make this first. Meet Kevin. Kevin is a freaking K-van with a motorcycle in it. I'm not talking about being powered by a motorcycle engine. A ton of people have done that. This is a van with a full motorcycle in it, powering the rear wheels. It's like a vehicular turducken. First thing the guys had to do was get the K-truck back to their garage. It ran for about 10 seconds, but eventually they had to throw it in neutral and Fred Flintstone power it the rest of the way. They cleaned it up, they hooked the stock engine, they loaded the motorbike and connected it to the back wheels using a solid axle, a sprocket, and a chain. The clutch and the throttle both are operated by the pedals, theoretically. They can shift it from the front, and they also chopped out all the suspension, so like the tires come up to like right here. With all the mods in place, it was time to Kevin 2.0 on his first run. The clutch wasn't working, so they popped the clutch, and it worked. Even though the 600cc engine only produces about 89 horsepower, just for sheer ingenuity, these guys deserve a spot on this list. We're just getting started, and these horsepower numbers are certainly gonna get higher.
We're out here in Atlanta partnering with eBay Motors to help T-Pain renew his ride, a spicy 94 Accord. He got this back in 06 as a project car, and after some modding to build it like a Chevy Bel Air, he turned the Accord into the Belcord. Now this car hasn't been touched in over 15 years, so we're using eBay Guaranteed Fit to help bring it up to date so it can stay on the road longer.
We'll be installing a brand new Kenwood head unit, some brake upgrades, and replacing a few worn out parts like the alternator and the battery.
This car's already got huge subs in the back. Having a modern unit like this, I think is gonna do a lot for that sound system.
This install required a wide variety of parts, so we use eBay's Guaranteed Fit service to ensure every part and accessory we purchase would fit this exact vehicle. Or we get our money back. It's that simple. Perfect fit. Just look for the green check mark when shopping on eBay Motors, and you'll know it's a guaranteed fit.
Now, if you want to see us and this car in person, just click the link below to learn more about eBay Motors' first ever Renew Your Ride event. It's happening May 27th to May 29th right here in Atlanta. Can't wait to see you there.
Peace out.
Next up on our list is this station wagon from YouTuber Gingium. Gingium has done all sorts of builds on his channel. He built a Subaru swapped Miata and has a Toyota V8 swapped Mazda drift truck.
Cool.
But when it comes to horsepower, there's only one of his builds that stands head and shoulders over the rest. I'm talking about his 1989 Volvo station wagon.
Shouts to Taylor Swift, 1989, baby.
Gingium chose the station wagon because of how lightweight the chassis was. At only 2,800 pounds stock, Gingium thought this wagon would make the perfect sleeper build, and boy howdy was he right.
Boy howdy was he right.
He swapped out the engine with the LS6 and then slapped on a 78mm VS Racing billet turbo.
Stock horsepower for these wagons is around 114, but after doing the engine swap, it's obviously way more. To find out exactly how much more, dude threw this thing on the dyno, and the results were nutsos. This station wagon now produces 650 horsepower. That's almost 6 times what it did stock.
Not bad. All right, moving on. The next vehicle has even more power, and it is way smaller and way less Swedish. It was made by YouTubers Death by Boost.
Scary.
But don't let the size fool you. This tiny cart packs a serious punch. Dubbed the Franken Cart, the Death by Boost guys say this unique and street legal turbo go-kart took about a year to build from start to finish.
Initially, it ran on a V6 engine, but it's been upgraded, of course, to a 5.3 liter LS truck engine. They then put in forged pistons, a Holley high ram intake manifold, an Audi A4 transaxle. That's where it got weird. And finally, a big old 76mm turbo. The Franken Cart's frame is made entirely of aluminum, keeping it lightweight and fast. But if you think that this go-kart sacrifices comfort for power, you've got another freaking thing coming, pal.
You're dead wrong.
You're dead wrong.
Keeping it strong. We got it going on.
Dead wrong.
The Death by Boost guys took the Franken Cart to the drag strip where it ran a quarter mile in 9.8 seconds. The V6 they originally had in it made 320 horsepower.
Which is a lot for a thing which is basically an aluminum frame.
But with all the added bells and whistles, the Death by Boost guys say this little machine now packs an astounding 700 to 800 horsepower. My goodness.
Irresponsible.
For this reason, this one-of-a-kind creation has earned its place on our list. But we're gonna keep going from there.
Let's take it on over to Dorchester, England. Go Foxes, where they know a thing or two about building powerful cars. YouTuber Matt Armstrong had what some people would consider a dream scenario when he was approached by the folks at EA Sports Need for Speed with a challenge. Turn his personal Lamborghini machine into one of the fastest and rowdiest looking Lamborghini machine Gallardos in the world. And it had to make at least 1,000 horsepower. Now this would be a hard enough challenge if they gave him a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years. But they only gave him 10 days. Unable to pass up on the challenge, Armstrong jumped at the opportunity, or as they say in England, leapt at it, mate.
Armstrong got a new custom wrap made, and putting on the wrap ended up being harder than he thought. It took up to 5 days of the challenge to do it.
Mate, we are not going well.
By day 7, Armstrong installed a new fuel pump to deliver more of that sweet British tea to that thirsty V10. Day 10 finally arrived, so it was time to strap this beast to the dyno and see what it could do.
Now, stock Gallardos make about 560 horsepower, but Matt with 1T's Lamborghini machine was able to pull 1,001 engine horsepower. He beat the challenge by 1 horse. Here in the United States of America, we know a thing or two about making power. Some of the best to do it are another YouTube channel that I frequently watch, Boostedboiz. We mentioned these dudes and their cars on this channel before, like Kyle's insane MR2 that keeps breaking records. Kyle's also got an EK Civic that he's just recently refreshed. But today we're gonna be talking about a really special build. I'm talking about their first gen Honda Odyssey, aka Izzle, the Rowdacy.
The boys yanked the stock engine out and swapped in an H22 inline 4-cylinder from a Honda Prelude. Next, they converted the minivan from automatic to manual, naturally. They sleeved the engine, installed high-performance pistons, and then they installed a massive 88mm turbo.
Once they finished converting this Mamobile into a full-fledged race car, it was time to put it on the dyno and see what it could do. Stock, a Honda Odyssey makes around 130 horsepower, but after the boys with a Z worked their magic, they were able to crank up the juice, max out at 1,043 horsepower. 10 out of 10 build.
And you can carry all your friends around. Okay, so up next, we now go to That Racing channel where the guys are building something truly remarkable. Starting with the 1991 Nissan Skyline GTR, the team wanted to swap out the RB26 with an RB30. But once the add-ons began, the guys decided to see just how far they could push this relic from the 90s.
A tale as old as time, really.
Yeah, while I'm in there, that's how it starts.
So on the dyno with the stock RB, this thing made 254 horsepower.
Not bad.
But after installing the Holden Nissan hybrid RB30 and all of the other modifications, the guys decided to take it back to the dyno where they were able to pull upwards of 1,200 horsepower. Then they did a quarter mile run in 8 freaking seconds. That's my favorite amount of seconds. Did you know that?
Yeah? No, I didn't.
7's too short. 9, way too long. I'm an 8 guy. Next up, we got Rob Dahm's 1993 Mazda RX7. Now, Rob's done a bunch of builds, but none of them turned heads at SEMA quite like this one. All right, we've covered Rob's RX7 on this channel before, but since then, he's gotten the thing a lot more dialed in. Rob's had this Mazda since he was 18 years old, but decided it was time to crank things up a bit. With a lot of work and a little help from his friends, Rob was able to turn his RX-7 into potentially the ultimate YouTube build ever.
Rob gave his sleek machine a custom 4-rotor engine. When he first ordered the parts for this custom engine build, they lost it in the mail. And then it showed up for sale later, which was like super suspicious. But Rob was finally able to get the parts he needed to build this thing out. He converted it to all-wheel drive and used engine dowels from his C8 Corvette, which was the first wrecked one. Once he had all the pieces in place, it was time to strap his childhood dream car to the dyno and see what she could do.
All right, guys, so a stock Mazda RX7 makes about 255 horsepower when they rolled off the line in 1993. But after Rob and his guys had their fun, this truly unique build pulled a staggering 1,337 horsepower on the dyno.
Woo!
This is one of the best sounding cars I've ever heard in my entire life.
Westen Champlin is known on YouTube for his signature burnout build.
Originally, Westen put a 1,500 horsepower engine in his thing, but after only running for 10 minutes, it blew up in his face. Never wanted to give up, Westen ordered a new engine that was bigger and better. After cleaning up the fire, Westen took the old 1,500 horsepower, week-old little baby engine out and replaced it with a 2,000 horsepower blown alcohol powered big block. This thing was so big that he had to take off the supercharger to install it into the Mustang.
So after he put the engine in, it was finally time to take this monster car out of the garage and see what it could really do. The engine was so strong, it almost blew itself up, just like the first one. Westen plans to keep tweaking and building this Mustang out to create the ultimate burnout machine.
All right, now it's time to check in with the guys over at 187 Customs. They've turned this 1969 Chevy Nova into what they're calling the Murder Nova, which I think is unnecessarily scary. The owner of 187 Customs and his team have worked hard to turn this old girl into a lean, mean horsepower machine.
Under the hood, this Murder Nova has a 482 cubic inch engine. Also includes 98mm turbos, which are the biggest so far. They also moved the engine a little bit back towards the windshield for better weight distribution for something that's just gonna smoke the tires off anyway.
Yeah, but don't worry about smoking the tires off because this thing's got 36-inch tires.
But the really impressive stuff happens when the guys strap this thing to the dyno.
So a stock Chevy Nova makes about 300 horsepower. That's back in 1969, nice. But after the 187 Customs guys finished their tinkering, the Murder Nova pulled a staggering 3,658 horsepower. They plan on entering this thing in the Street Outlaws No Prep Kings events, and with all these modifications, this Nova will no doubt murder the competition. We have made it to the last car on the list, and let me tell you, it's got more horsepower than Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. I'm talking about Rod Tschiggfrie and his tricked out Oldsmobile called the Sorceress. Rod took his childhood dream car, a 1984 Hearst Oldsmobile, and tricked it out to the max. In fact, the only original pieces of this car still standing are the tail lights, which is odd. And though it may look like something out of this world, this build is 100% street legal in Iowa.
Back in 1984, when Oldsmobile partnered with Hearst Performance Inc. to build this giant car, it was only able to pull around 180 horsepower. But Rod has shot this thing to the moon with all his modifications, and the Sorceress is now capable of pulling around 5,000 horsepower, thanks to a 640 cubic inch V8 engine with two huge 110mm turbos. It can do a quarter mile in just 5 seconds.
So fast.
That's funny car speeds.
That's fast. The YouTubers are freaking insane. Cars keep getting nuttier and nuttier. It's really hard to keep up, so I guess keep watching YouTube. And go check out all of these creators on their channels. They work really hard, make really cool stuff. Drop a comment if we missed something. We're gonna make more of these videos. Follow Justin on social media at JustinFreeman. Follow me at James Pumphrey. Life is short, live in the now.